Hello, you're listening to Random Sage with Maryann from Revealing Light. Thank you for joining me wherever you are in this world of ours, a troubled yet beautiful world of ours. A big shout out to you. Today, I want to do a couple of things. I want to look at the some of the astrology. We've got some big movements of planets this year. I want to particularly look at Neptune and Saturn moving from Pisces into Aries. Let's take Neptune. Neptune is associated with Pisces, or is the ruler of Pisces. Pisces is a mutable sign, and we associate Pisces with the 12th house of the zodiac. It is the point in the zodiac where we've been through the whole journey, and hopefully we've learnt and we've evolved. Pisces is a very spiritual, creative, imaginative sign. It is a sign that is always coming into form. It's a water sign, a mutable sign. Neptune being its ruler, again, exemplifies that watery spiritual energy. And if we can think of pouring water into a glass, Saturn moving into it from Pisces into Aries, Saturn provides the boundaries. Saturn is Father Time. Saturn is the taskmaster. The hard work that needs to be done reminds us that in order for Neptune and Pisces to give us what we dream, there has to be work, and there has to be boundaries, and there has to be form. So this is where Neptune and Saturn are currently placed. Yet on March the 30th, from March the 30th through to October the 22nd this year, Neptune moves into Aries. Aries, of course, is associated with the first house of the zodiac. It's ruled by Mars, that fiery energy. It signifies new beginnings, new cycles. So Neptune has taken, as I said, 165 years to move around the zodiac. What has it learned during that time? And yet it's moving from an ending, a culmination, into a new cycle. Saturn moving from Pisces, holding that giving us that form, is moving into Aries. So we see a new beginning, but a new beginning that will need to be formulated, will need to be worked at, will need to be structured, because Saturn, of course, is all about structure. Saturn can be government as well. So Neptune moving into Aries from 30th of March to October the 22nd, and then more fully from January the 26th, from 2025 to 2039, marks this new beginning. The last time Neptune was in Aries was during the Civil War in America. It was in Aries from 1861 to 1865. The Civil War began on April the 12th, 1861. Neptune moved into Aries on April the 13th. Am I suggesting there's going to be a civil war in America? No. No, I'm not. I'm not suggesting that at all. But we have had a fracture of American politics and American society, because what is politics if it's not a reflection of our society and our values and our beliefs? But values and beliefs change in time. And here we have Saturn reminding us that there is nothing fickle about Saturn's energy at all. So change will be long-lasting, profound, and long-lasting. Let's look at the qualities of Pisces. Pisces is a mutable sign. It's a water sign. Aries is a cardinal sign and a fire sign. So two very different energies. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. You might want to look at what happened in 2011. Where were you? What were you doing? What has the ensuing years brought you? Pisces is all about the flow, going with the flow, yet Aries is about deliberate reinvention, reinvention. It's a new destination. It's also about the identity. So, with Neptune moving into Aries, we will see new identities emerging, new destinations being pursued. Saturn and Neptune are both conjunct in Aries um, at 0 degrees. So there is this real potential for something new to arise. Many of you in America would be worried, are we going to? All the pointers, all the hallmarks show that that they're heading to some kind of civil war. I don't necessarily, as I said, see that. We have a tendency to always take the worst case scenario. 1861 was a far, far different time to the era that we are living now. And our battles aren't necessarily fought with shotguns and axes on the battlefield. They're more fought in different ways. And Pluto being in Aquarius tells us that this will be very much a people-powered revolution. We're seeing some of this in the United States and across the world right now as the world order changes and is being born anew. Old alliances are falling away. The US, once a dominant force since World War II, now through its isolationism is no longer occupying that place. This has been quite brutal under the current US government. However, it has allowed countries to think about who they are. In Italy, many Europeans came together, united under the European flag, well, they weren't protesting, they were marching in support of Europe. Europe has now taken a decision, pardon me, to move away from the US being the defender, to rearm, they call it rearming, Europe rearming, but to become responsible for its own defence. Canada, once an ally of the US, unfortunately has been so disrespected by the current US government, not the US people, that it has moved closer to Europe and the UK. My own country, Australia, is also thinking about its identity as no longer the little brother of the US. It's starting to realise that due to the fracturing of American political, societal, and political values that was responsible for the election of the current president, who is a very transactional and some would say very brutal and cruel person, vindictive person. Many Australians are saying we don't want to be treated like Canada. We've seen what he's done to Canada. We don't want that for our country. Maybe it's time for us to consider our sovereignty and our own independence from the US. There have been growing calls here to pull out of the AUKUS defence deal with America, and they are growing louder and louder. I'm very good at monitoring reactions around the world, but also in my own country. And I can say that there are very few that feel very few of the people that feel any kind of allegiance to Donald Trump. Again, I want to make it clear this is not the American people. This is the current Trump government that we don't feel an allegiance to. So what is likely to happen when Neptune moves into Aries in March from October? We'll get a taste. So look to March the 30th. We'll get a taste of what might be coming. more fully, as I said, from January the 26th. It is about newness, it is about change, and it is about restructure. Now, that's not to say the entire Republic of the US will be totally and utterly altered forever. But I do know that in times of adversity, we have to be very assertive about where we want to go and what we want to be by the end of this. Neptune gives us a chance to dream, to imagine the kind of world that we want to live in. Saturn will bring down the hammer, will bring down the boundaries, where those Neptunian dreams are unrealistic or unfeasible, not feasible. So all this is to say that we're seeing newness this year. That's playing out very much realistically. We see the ironies that are occurring at this time, along with what is very worrying and extreme. Do we want that? Is that the kind of country and world we want to live in? Again, look to the people power, the people protesting, where the motivation and passion of the majority are, and that will give you an indication of the direction that we might be heading in. Elon Musk, some say, bought the presidency of the United States and is the co-president, along with Donald Trump, certainly calling many of the shots. He was once the darling of the left wing. He came forward, bought a electric car company, and it rose post his entrepreneurial actions. Once the darling of the left, electric vehicle cars, protecting the climate. And governments, through the will of the people, provided subsidies to electric vehicle manufacturers. Elon Musk did a full circle, became very extreme, and is now the darling of the extreme right. Who would have thought so a decade ago? As a result, his brand is tanking because it seems that the extreme right don't really want to buy electric vehicles. They want their fossil fuels. Again, we're seeing the fracturing come back, ricocheting, if you like, and fracturing in other ways. The current president, Donald Trump, an extreme right-winger, did briefly contemplate, before 2016, running as a Democrat. However, he was advised by another one of his lieutenants, Steve Bannon, that the right would be easier to move toward extremism. Ironies. Donald Trump is focusing on the Kennedy Center. The Kennedy Center, of course, is in memory of that famous president that really is part of America's identity, bedrock structure, JFK. Who doesn't know who JFK, John F. Kennedy, is? Assassinated, become a legend. Donald Trump has moved to take over the Kennedy Center, which was established in honor of JFK, John F. Kennedy, and remake it in his image. So you see the shattering of norms. We see things turned upside down in a very, very extreme and dangerous and chaotic way. And that has led, that chaos, that destruction has led to Europe finding its, or in the process of finding its identity. and other US allies considering where do we want to go. The Democratic Party in America is currently under fire. Seems to be leaderless and a bit rudderless. We can't really see anyone emerging with any real strength yet. It too is going through its own restructure. We've seen some leaders move toward the right in a bid to capture that populism that propelled Donald Trump to power. Yet, that is occurring at the same time that Democrats are holding fast to their values and beliefs. I was told many, many years ago, you cannot underestimate the way people feel. Because at the end of the day, it's not words that will be remembered. It is the way people are made to feel that will be remembered. And so anyone embracing this right-wing populism in the Democratic Party, alienating, making Democrats feel torn with their own values, will pay a price. What is happening now will determine where we dream, Neptune, where we dream our new beginning, our new identity. In what direction will it go? So today is very, very critical in so many ways. Israel again under Netanyahu, the war criminal, yes, war criminal, is again indiscriminately bombing Palestine, bombing Gaza, Palestinians, what is left of what would have become Palestine, seeking to again kill as many innocent people as he possibly can. We have to make choices. Putin in Ukraine still trying to strong arm, still trying to manipulate. His economy is in the ditch. I wager his health is not so good, yet he cannot step back from his ambitions to control territories of the former Soviet Union. He's not letting go. He cannot let go. And so we see, rather than appeasement of Putin, it's likely to end in strong arming him in some way, whether that comes, well, obviously not from the current president of the United States, but perhaps from Europe. Personally, what does this mean for us personally? We need to look at the old cycles that we may have been living under for some time and understanding that there is newness. I can feel it. I've felt the shift. I'm feeling the shift. I have Neptune in Venus, which is about love, relationships. Can also be values, our possessions, what we love. And so I too am now thinking, what do I love? Where do I want to put my love? Do I want to devote love to my family, to my work? I do that now, but how can I do that differently? We can sense the newness coming because Neptune, that watery, psychic, spiritual energy, is upon us. In Pisces, in huge measure. The North Node is in Pisces. We should be able, South Node in Virgo, we should be able to take everything that we've learnt as Neptune moves around the zodiac and apply it in new ways. to a new way going forward. Many are worried about the state of our politics and the state of the world. In the past, we've worked it out. Not always through war and battle, but through advancement and evolution. One way or another, we are evolving. Let's look at, before I sign off, let's look at what will be changed in the US as a result of the Neptune Aries movement. And particularly there with Saturn bringing us all down to the ground with a thud. Coincides with the current US president's move to introduce tariffs, which of course I read this morning. Economists are already noting the global downturn as a result of the tariff war. Is it any coincidence that Saturn, the taskmaster, the wake-up call, Father Time, reminds us as Neptune moves into Aries that the finances of our countries, our own personal finances, are going to be a focus in the coming months. It's no coincidence that the tariffs will be introduced in the US on April the 2nd. Saturn will be there to give the current president a dose of reality. All right, let's see. How will the US be changed under the Neptune in Aries cycle from 2025 through to, give or take, some, uh, movement back into Pisces for a few months here and there, I think at the end of 2025 and again in 2038. But broadly, from 2025 to 2039, how will this Neptune in Aries transit play out in the US, in America? What is being remade? What is being restructured? What is the direction that the people, Pluto in Aquarius, powerful Pluto, Aquarius, the people, where will this lead the US? Neptune in Aries transit, well, where will it lead the US? So we have the Six of Swords. There's movement. There's turbulence, but there's movement away from turbulence. And we have justice, a balancing of the scale. It's a karmic card. And I have long thought that the worse it becomes, the more exclusive and the more oligarchical the republic becomes. Or it's always been that, but we're seeing it very visibly, and that's what Pluto does in Aquarius. It pulls away the mask. And we see justice here, a very karmic card, almost as if the people have to decide to move away from the destruction and the turbulence. You have the Two of Cups coming together, unified, disparate groups coming together in unity. There was a victory in the past, a victory for the US. It was the leader of the free world, or was known as the leader of the free world. We can't say that now. It's now on a human rights watch list due to the actions of the current government. The abundance, the Empress card. So what is changing for the US is its wealth structures, it's a reorganization, I think, in a way, through perhaps tariffs, through recession, to come back, or not come back because it's going forward from this destruction, if we want to put it like that, from this downturn, new ways of new ways of wealth or acquiring wealth will come in time because it will have to due to the downturn. The isolationism will be going through a period of isolationism. The Hermit card, the South Node in Virgo. If you don't learn the lessons of the past, you are doomed to suffer the consequences in the future. And this is what is occurring now under Donald Trump. Moderation and temperance is in the present. So this is where people are moving to, in a direction they're moving to. You can't see it, but this is what is happening at the base of everything. The fracturing, the results of the fracturing, it's like boundaries are being now put on everything. And that's bringing people back into, from the extremes, whichever side of the fence that you're on, but bringing people back into a middle ground. Why? Because the economy and also security. Economy, security, national security. We understand that this moderation is good for all of those things. Extremism is not. The hopes and fears is the broken heart. Yet, in the hope position, hearts do mend in time. And people will remember how they feel when they couldn't, because of the recession that didn't have to happen, buy food for their children. All betrayals will be remembered. A new day, the Ace of Pentacles in the outcome, weathering the storm, going through the recession, going through the downturn, and wishing for something new. That is the direction I can say. That through adversity, through economic downturn, through destruction, through chaos, people are starting to wish for something new. They don't want that. And when enough start to move in that direction, a few more people join the protest. A few more people reach out across the aisle and join for change. And so we see emotions being overflowing, but also being reset. The great divide that nearly destroyed will be breached, will be brought back together. Let's look at how Neptune in Aries brought back together, but not the same, I want to say. Not the very same. It will be something new. Let's take a look at what the world, how Neptune in Aries will impact the world. How will Neptune in Aries impact the world? How will Neptune in Aries impact the world? I see movement all around, pace, gathering pace. There's movement toward change. There's movement toward change. Again, in a different way in the US, but for the world, they're on a new journey. Okay. All right, let's have a look. How will Neptune in Aries impact the world? Helping one another, charity, the values that we saw in under successive US presidents. And clarity around their values, clarity around the values of the world that they want to occupy, solidifying those, creating those. holding back also, holding back what is theirs, sovereignty, more tighter borders, less immigration, a move toward containment and sovereignty. It was a winning cycle in the past. Again, you see the catalyst of the change was Donald Trump retreating from alliances that once held strong. Why? Because each of us must do what's good for our economy, for our domestic stability. Currently, very, very disappointed. We were used to being in a room that we thought was secure, and then suddenly we realise that the room doesn't have any walls. And we've got to go out and make it for ourselves. But there is a cup being handed to us. And a truth and a clarity that is emerging. Something new is indeed being born. We are walking away in the hopes and fears, walking away or forced to walk away from what we knew in the past to be solid and secure, to find a new way of doing, of being. And we move towards stability because we do not ever want to go through this kind of instability with the rug being pulled out from underneath us. We don't want to go through that instability again. And so the tariff war will create new trading partners, more reliable trading partners. Countries will think twice about doing deals with chaotic leadership. They will think twice about locking themselves into longer term deals. And so we have something very much flowing, as Neptune does. Flowing. And we have a coming home. And as I said, a joyousness in new alliances. However, we will tread very carefully. There will be new financial decisions in this changing relationship having to be made. We will be weathering a financial downturn just like the US, and there will be restriction. However, our goal for the world is economic stability. So you can expect the consequences of extremism and instability to play out in the US and globally in the economy. That is where it is all at. And the economy is just another word for our security and our stability, our domestic stability. You will know that wars are fought over resources and money and greed. I want what you have. And we will be all looking to shore up our safety, to rebuild those walls that suddenly we found weren't there. And so this is a huge time of change in the US and for the world. The US deciding that extremism comes at a high price and deciding where it wants to go in the future toward more stability. The world deciding that it can no longer rely on the US and it must build its own fortress. Alliances will form, new alliances will form, new relationships will form. This is all mutable. But now we have, with Neptune, it's mutable. Well, it's about creation. And Aries is the action that allows us to bring our creation, our imagination, what we believe and know and want into some kind of concrete reality. You've been listening to Maryann from Revealing Light, and this is Random Sage. Thank you for tuning in, and bye for now.